the Pacific coast of the United States.
Wow.
And it's pretty crazy. It's a awesome cast in it. Great writing. The episodes are an hour long, so they're a little long, but they kind of buzz by if you get really into it. So I highly recommend both of those. So
nice.
Man in the High Castle and Disaster Artist. Those are both available on Amazon Prime.
Have you ever played Wolfenstein?
I played a little bit of it.
Did you know that that's pretty much the premise of that game? Is what if the Germans or the Nazis won that war and they take over the war? They now inhabit the world.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah,
and that's why you're like, you're fighting, you're the resistance fighting, and that's a pretty cool concept. But that just reminded me a lot of that.
That's really cool.
And they just released a new Wolfenstein 2 came out.
Yeah, I know that just came out, right? Yeah.
But yeah,
check those two out.
Amazon
Prime, yeah. And you got something, right?
I do. I wanted to talk about. I'll throw out two, but my first big one is Hereditary.
Yeah, I know you saw it. You saw it the other day.
Yeah, and I saw it late at night. It was the 10 o'clock showing. I had no idea it was 127 minutes long.
Nice. Did you stay all the way through, man?
Yeah.
It was pretty late.
It was. But it's kind of hard. It was. It's pretty creepy, man.
Yeah.
It's rated R, and I wrote a little synopsis so I don't kill anything for you.
Okay.
When the grandmother of a seemingly normal family passes, the mother starts to break down as each family member starts to fall victim to an unlikely enemy, their own ancestry. Okay. I gotta talk in
code.
Cryptically.
Cryptic, yeah.
So I don't kill anything.
Yeah.
I'll have to take you to watch it, man. It's starring Alex Wolff and Toni Collette of United States of Tara and Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah.
She's always awesome, and she is definitely the star of this.
Okay.
She has multiple breakdowns, and the acting, you start to feel. This film just has like this sense of, like we were talking about earlier, this sense of dread that never lets up. And when a film can make you feel its despair, when that kind of floods out into the crowd, and I even had a couple walkouts in my theater.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
A24, man. A24 films, they tend to do that.
Yeah,
they scare people off.
Yeah.
It comes at night.
Yeah.
When I went to see that, we had 5 walkouts.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Something like that. And that always seems to happen with those films. But although they're not for everybody, this film is by no means for everybody. But I think the people who are a fan of films and horror films or that genre are gonna respect this. And funny enough, Chris went to see it the same night that I did.
Oh, really?
And got out maybe a few minutes after. It was a different theater, I believe. But he texted me right after I had gotten out and said, Hereditary, ... Holy shit. And he said, I won't say anything to spoil it for the show, but I will give you a quote. And he said, the best horror film in a decade.
Ooh, damn, okay.
Nice. So yeah, go check out Hereditary. At your own risk.
Yes.
I'll say that, at your own risk, because it is bonkers.
Yeah.
In every sense of the word.
Oh man, sounds good. Sounds good.
And that moves us into our main focus.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now for the movie focus of the week.
Alright, so our main focus is Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes.
It's PG-13, which is wild because it's very, very violent and intense. And they kill him like a million times.
Yeah.
I don't know how the MPAA worked that around that stuff.
Yeah.
It runs at 113 minutes. It's science fiction, of course.
Yeah.
starring Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, and Bill Paxton, who, although he's not in this very much, he is a pretty fun character.
Yeah.
He got some cool one-liners.
Yeah.
Reminded me of Aliens.
Oh yeah.
Especially because because this it has that kind of Aliens feel. The action is nuts.
The action is insane.
Never lets up. It's crazy. Directed by Doug Liman, who actually directed Swingers with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau.
Oh wow,
which is a classic.
Yeah.
Do you know, since you said they're planning on doing a sequel, is he coming back to direct, or is it somebody else? Do you know?
I honestly don't know. I just remember hearing that the sequel's in development, kind of.
I bet you Cruise is pushing for that because he can finance whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah,
that's why there's like a million Mission Impossible films.
Because he's the one producing them, right?
Yeah,
it's insane. He can make them forever. They can keep going. Mission Impossible 20.
They'll just start doing TV shows. Once they can the movies, they'll do a show.
Yeah, exactly.
Cartoon.
Yeah, comic books will start coming out with everything.
The synopsis for this, which I wrote myself, is after a high-ranking officer is forced onto the front lines of a war against an alien invasion, he's then suddenly gifted with the power to relive the same day over and over again until he can figure out the weakness of the alien species and destroy them in hopes of returning to his normal life.
Yeah. That was good, man. That was awesome.
I try to wrap up these films in one paragraph if I can.
That was good.
For anybody who hasn't seen it, and get you guys to watch this stuff.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen this, go check it out. And pause this, go check it out, and then come back and listen. Yeah,
we might have some light spoilers.
Yeah.
For this film, there's an exception because there's so much that happens we would never be able to cover everything.
Yeah.
But, yeah. In the future, if you don't want us to ruin anything, we talk freely on this show, and for the most part, we pick movies that have been out for a few years, so you should be able to pick them up for only a couple dollars, rent them digitally, pick them up at wherever films are sold.
Yeah.
And and then we're going to continue.
All right. Yeah.
So, what did you think of the film, man?
Oh man, I remember when this first came out, I was excited to see it in theaters, but I think time just got away from me.
You never got to go?
I didn't get to see it in theaters, and it came out on Blu-ray, and I was like, man, I'm not gonna miss this. So I checked it out, and I watched it with my grandparents, and it was awesome.
Did they get it?
Yeah. The ending confused them. We'll get to that, but I thought it was a great movie. Seeing it, it's probably like you said, it's probably one of Tom Cruise's best movies.
That nobody went to see.
Yeah, that's just weird.
Nobody knows about.
But yeah, we're getting a sequel, probably. But yeah, no, I really like this movie. What do you remember from seeing it for the first time?
Okay, so I actually did get to go see this.
Okay.
I think within the first week it came out. I think it was by default. There was nothing else playing, so we went to see Edge of Tomorrow.
Okay.
And I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
I went in just let's pass the time with this, not thinking that it was going to be this kind of masterpiece that it truly is.
Yeah.
And I guess the big thing for me is that I feel like sometimes Tom Cruise is just not really trying much,
Yeah.
Or
I get that.
And I think in 2013 he had just done Oblivion. And so I was like, why is he coming out with another science fiction film that feels so close to Oblivion?
Yeah.
And they're just like maybe a year apart. And so that's why I was like,
pretty close together.
Yeah, I was like, what? It just seems so weird to me. But for anybody who's wondering out there, this movie, Edge of Tomorrow, is light years ahead of Oblivion. So check this one out first. Or if you've seen Oblivion and not Edge of Tomorrow, please watch Edge of Tomorrow, because it will change your... It might make you a Cruise fan if you're not.
Yeah. exactly. Yeah.
And also, Jack Reacher is really good for what it's worth.
Oh yeah,
the first one.
The first one was good. I haven't seen the second one. Is it any good?
I didn't finish the second one.
Okay.
But the first one's amazing.
Yes.
You know. So, with that being said, what did you like? What do you think about the effects and the action scenes in this?
So first off, in the beginning, when the first war scene, basically battle scene, that scene pretty much jumps the whole. It kind of kickstarts the whole movie, as action wise, and then it's kind of nonstop from there. But that whole first action scene was amazing for me. It really piqued my interest more into the movie, and that was probably the best scene for me. And then the effects, I love the effects. They even now, it's only been 3 years or 4 years since this has come out, but the effects still look great to me.
Yeah, honestly, the effects, watching it now, I haven't seen it probably. I know I bought it I bought the Blu-ray for Black Friday a few years ago, and I don't think I've watched it in its entirety maybe since the year it came out.
Okay.
So this was very, very fun revisiting this film.
Oh, yeah.
And watching the effects now, they hold up even probably better.
Yeah.
Because they chose not to do the CGI suits, and those are real mech suits.
Yeah, the suits are awesome.
And yeah, that they kind of, how do you say, like dedicated themselves that much to lug around these huge ass things and choreograph these insane fight scenes, and even just like the way that they captured like the dirt flying around and everything, and kind of looking so agile in these 50-60 pound suits that they put in, in the sound design, it sounds like they have hydraulics, but they weren't. They don't.
They're lugging them around.
Those are not. They're not being helped at whatsoever.
And the movement in some scenes, about like midway through, are amazing. The way Emily Blunt is spinning around with her suit. I like her suit because it's kind of more sleek and fitting to her, I guess.
Because she's supposed to be the queen
of the mechs or
angel of something. I forget.
There's another name for her. Is a Full Metal Bitch. Then it's kind of.
And she's got this wicked sword.
Oh, it's so awesome. Yeah, the sword is sick. It's gigantic sword that she carries around. But some of the movement they were doing in those suits is awesome, and it was really cool to see.
There's definitely some wiring or rigging.
Oh, yeah. You can see it, but I mean, you can kind of tell what it is. But I mean, just the way they're flying and spinning around, it looks really cool.
Yeah, and the execution is just impeccable.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because you get to see them live out the same scene maybe 10 or more times, and it always plays out differently.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's such a different movie experience than you really get at all. And then, not to mention, the replay value of this is...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's things you maybe missed the first time you saw it or the second time. And because there's so many, like you said, there's so many different variations of one scene. You'll go through a scene maybe 10 or 15 times, and each time it's different. And
there's things going on in the background, and this is a very busy movie, so it's easy to overlook things really fast. And and although it's a longer film, it moves along very quickly.
Oh yeah.
You go from him being this decorated officer to him turning into this coward to him being on the battlefield within minutes. But it really does work with the how they set up the script. It works, and you really do kind of fall for him as a character, and which his name's Cage, right?
Yeah.
And then Rita, you start to love Rita too, and they kind of start this strange love affair, this warped kind of relationship.
He starts to kind of starts to fall for her. Him first, of course, 'cause he is always trying to save her, and then it was pretty cool because you kind of in the beginning, after the first time he gets killed, and his blood mixes with the
Mimic,
the alpha mimic, the blue one, and he goes back in time, and then he sees her and saves her one time, and he says he's trying to explain to her, okay, all these things are